Growing up in rural northern Wisconsin, we only got four TV channels: ABC, NBC, CBS, and PBS. And we didn't even get Fox. Now, some of you probably feel sad that a quarter of our TV was PBS. I mean, what's really on that station? A bunch of like badly done documentaries and weird British shows? But I liked watching some stuff on PBS. I mean, I watched my fair share of Sesame Street, Mr. Rogers, but what I really liked was on Saturday afternoons when they would have the nature shows. 'Cause it would transport you to a totally different place. And for me growing up, it was exotic if we drove to Minnesota. So watching a show set in Africa was pretty cool. And they always gave the animals really exotic, like native names. Oh, here comes the lioness Nala with her cubs, Umbuktu and Zafini. I'm like, whoa, those names sound really different. I don't know anybody in Wisconsin with those names. I don't even know anyone in Minnesota with those names, so we must be in Africa. Now, I think they gave the main character animals names so that we would feel a bond with them and really care and want to watch the whole hour documentary. Because inevitably, halfway through, some drama happens. Oh dear, the one cub, Umbuktu, has gone missing. And you're sitting there like, oh no, I hope the hyenas didn't get him. And then the tense music plays, and finally, there's the little cub. He'd just fallen off a log. You're like, whew, at least he's all right. Now, you know which animals didn't get names? The wildebeest. And there's probably at least a few reasons for that. Now, first of all, I don't want to sound prejudiced, but they all look the same to me. And they also run around in herds of like 500,000. So even if they did give names to them, I have a feeling we'd run out of cool African names, and we would be stuck following two wildebeest called Fred and George. That's not real cool. But the real problem is, lions eat wildebeest. So how's that gonna work when the hunt is on? Here's Nala, desperate to make her kill to feed her hungry cubs. And then she's off, and she's got a wildebeest by the neck. Oh, he's down. Oh dear, is that Fred? He's got, has the scar down his back leg. That's Fred, and he's a goner. That would not make us happy if an animal with a name died. So sorry, wildebeest. I don't think you're getting names anytime soon. Now, another thing they made sure to say in all these nature shows, whatever animals it was looking at, is how those animals were so different from humans because humans create strong social bonds, and creating society is what sets us apart. And that's interesting because I'm over 40 years old now, and I see a lot more people trying to tear down society than trying to build it up. Like, let's start with something as uniquely human as driving. I'm sure you've all been in like stop and go traffic, right? Where it's really busy, you're just creeping along, but there's always that one car that's convinced it's gonna get through the traffic faster than everyone else. So he's there bobbing and weaving between lanes, endangering 30 people's lives to get 40 feet ahead of where he was before. It's weird, but it happens. Now, pre-COVID, I commuted into Nashville 25 miles every day, so I spent a lot of time in stop and go traffic. And I would usually be in the fast lane, even though we weren't going fast. We were going the same speed as everyone else, which was slow. Now, one day I saw this car that was 7 behind me. He passed someone who was 6, passed another who was 5, till all of a sudden he was right on my tail. And it was a Mercedes. And I've noticed those cars that are always weaving between the lanes, they're usually really expensive cars. And maybe like that's how those people get so rich. They get to work 30 seconds faster than everyone else, so they've got more money to spend on their car. Don't know. But when this guy got on my tail, I remembered those nature shows from a kid, and I thought, let's do some social bonding. There's a big old semi right next to us, so I slowed down until we were going 2 miles an hour faster than that semi. And sure enough, my Mercedes friend came inches away from my bumper as if he almost wanted to kiss my bumper or pat it on the bumper shoulder. Now, as I was looking ahead, after the first semi, there was a bit of a gap and then another semi. So once I got past the first one, I thought, I kind of like this guy. And I don't really want him to pass me. So I floored it. Now, what I haven't told you up to this point is that I drive a Prius. Do you know what happens when you floor it in a Prius? Absolutely nothing. So it's like 35, 36, 37, like, come on, Prius, go, go. Now, the guy in the Mercedes, as soon as he could, he snuck out from behind me and he floored it. You guys are probably richer than me, so you know what it sounds like when you floor it in a Mercedes. So he was gaining very quickly on me, and I desperately didn't want him to pass, and we got just close enough where he couldn't sneak through, so he pulled back behind me, and I instantly slowed down to 2 miles per hour faster than the second semi. Now, at this point, our relationship became more complex. Like sometimes this guy would slow down and speed up and almost tap my bumper friendly on the back. Or he was like weaving back and forth in the lane behind me like I was a pace car at a NASCAR race. Like we were getting pretty close. But after the second semi, I'd bored of our relationship, so I pulled over to let him pass, but it turned out he really liked me. He pulled up next to me, rolled down his passenger window, said lots of loud words at me, and gestured quite a bit with one finger until he got bored too, and then he sped off about 40 feet until he came to the next car. We were still in stop and go traffic. Now, we were also coming to a part of the commute where for some reason the third lane always moves a little faster than the fast lane. So sure enough, I was gaining on him, gaining until we were side by side. And I debated like waving or saying hi as I passed, but Tennessee is an open carry state and I value my life, so I didn't. Now there's other stuff that we do while driving, like flash our headlights. Now, growing up in rural Wisconsin and learning to drive in the 90s, there were a couple of reasons for this. One, that might mean your headlights are off and it's dark, so turn them on, because there were no automatic lights back then. Or two, there's a cop around the corner, slow down or you're going to get busted. Well, now most headlights are automatic, and I live in the suburbs, but a lot of these neighborhoods, like they build really skinny streets so that if a car is parked on one side, it kind of turns into a one-lane road. So at night, you could be driving along and come head to head with an F-250 at this one-lane road section, and he might flash his headlights, which could mean, please, come through, little Prius. I have pity on you. But it might also mean, yeah, I'm in an F-250, you're in a Prius? You stay there, I'm coming through. So now, if someone flashes their headlights, like I'm slowing down, speeding up, like making sure mine are on, looking for a cop, but I feel very socially bonded to them. Now, there's one more thing that we do while driving, and this made a lot more sense where I grew up too, and that is we wave at people in cars that we pass. Now, growing up in a town of 3,000 people, that made sense because you knew someone in every car that you passed. And there were actually different ways that you would acknowledge them based on the type of person that they were. Like if it was a teacher or a cop or some kind of authority figure, you just give them a simple single wave. Now, if they were maybe a friend's parent, so you wanted to play it a little bit cool, you would do the simple 3-finger wave. And there were 2 ways to do this. You could keep these fingers together and go, hey. Or you could keep your pinky down and go, hey. Hey, hey, hey. Either way, the 3 fingers means the same thing. Now, if you came across another high school kid or a friend, you really had to play it cool, so you would just nod. And there was very basic protocol for this. If they nodded down, you nodded up. So if they went, hey, you'd go, hey. But if they went, hey, you'd go, hey. It was pretty simple. Now, but wave at people as I come into our neighborhood, and one day my girls asked me like, wait, do you know them? And I said, are you kidding? I'm lucky to know the 3 people that live in houses right next to them. I'm just waving to maintain the social order as humans. What are you, an anarchist? Now, as I said, most of my driving was to get me to work. And a few years ago, I started a new job, and so I was getting introduced to everybody in the place. And there was one guy who went to the University of Utah. I went to Brigham Young University. They're just 40 miles apart, natural rivals. But he took this to mean every time we saw each other, we should talk about one of those college sports that was going on. And the thing is, I didn't actually work with this guy. In fact, he sat on the other side of the building, and I only went over to that side to use the bathroom. But he would see me coming and be like, oh, hey, Matt, did you catch that BYU softball game last night? Like, whoa, that was intense. And I hear you guys got a new assistant strength and conditioning coach. Like, that should really be helpful. Until finally, I'd be like, hey, Jack, I gotta go. And I did, because I had only come over to that side of the building to use the bathroom. Now, sometimes he wouldn't see me until I came out of the bathroom, at which point he knew I hadn't come there to talk to him, but he felt like we should still interact. So he'd be like, hey, and I'm, hey. We were really close. Now, at the bathroom at my new workplace, I was not very happy, because as I looked around, there were at least 3 signs that said, please do not stand on the toilet or take a bath in the sink. Why are those signs there? Now, I've traveled quite a bit for business and for pleasure, and so I know people use bathroom facilities differently in different parts of the world. That's totally fine. But I don't work in Bangladesh. Okay, I don't even work in Manhattan, where there's a lot of international, like, immigrants. I don't even work on Broadway in Nashville, where there might be a bunch of international tourists. No, I work somewhere where you need to be a US citizen to get your work badge, use that badge at least 3 times to get to where this bathroom is. But those were the people we had to warn to not stand on the toilet or take a shower in the sink? I wasn't sure I wanted to bond with anybody at this place. Now, I've noticed a lot, I guess it was there, but a lot of public bathrooms, you see a lot of men texting while they're at the urinal. Now, for you ladies out there that maybe don't spend a lot of time in men's bathroom, a urinal is a place where boys can stand up and go to the bathroom. Now, just number 1, okay, not number 2, let's not be gross here. But when I see someone texting, I want to go up and say, oh, I'm sorry, is your grandma dying? Because if not, maybe that text can wait 30 seconds until you're done. But the real hard thing is the young people, they're there 2-hand texting. And we don't need to have a 5th grade health lesson to know that if they're 2-hand texting, it is fraught with danger, everything else that is going on. And I don't like it. Now, there's another guy that I would see periodically at work, and we didn't work together, but we'd cross paths in the bathroom every now and then, and he always had his coffee mug with him. And I figured out that he worked on the far end of the building, so the bathroom was halfway between his desk and the break area, so fine. He saves himself a few steps and brings his mug along, but he would always set it on top of the urinal. We had a sink with a counter. And let me tell you, with all the 2-hand texters out there, a urinal is not a place you want to put anything that's going close to your mouth. So after 5 years, I still don't know that guy's name, and quite frankly, I don't want to. Now, one thing I think everyone can relate to that isn't unique to my workplace bathroom is people that use a public bathroom but don't wash their hands. Like, you could even be there washing your hands and someone finishes their business and just walks right out. Now, when you're at home, you do whatever you want. You could have pizza for dinner, leave it out on the counter, wake up the next morning, go to the bathroom, not wash your hands, and go pick up some of that nasty pizza that's been sitting out all night and eat it. Whatever makes you happy. But when we're in public, we're supposed to at least pretend that we care about creating social bonds, right? But no, we see these non-hand washers go out, and then we're left trying to figure out, well, how do I get out of the bathroom now? I mean, hopefully there's paper towels, because then you can make sort of that paper towel glove and, grab the handle and then hold the door open with your foot and probably, spin out and then throw the paper towel away to try not to touch the door. But why should we have to go through all of that just because you won't wash your hands? Doesn't seem fair. Now, also, there are two types of people in this world. Those that just throw away leftover fish, and those that think it's okay to warm up leftover fish in a public microwave. Yeah, this would happen fairly regularly at work, and I'd be going to refill my water and come toward the break room, and all of a sudden hit that thick smell of oily fish stank, and it's like, oh, where you had to kind of almost, swim through just to get to the water machine. Not nice. And one time I saw someone there with a broken piece of wood. They were so mad. They're like, if I ever catch who warmed up that fish, so help me. And I'm thinking, where'd you get the wood? But still, I think if you take all of this into consideration, there are some people that say, you know what? I'm not going to make bonds with humans anymore. It's just not worth it. So instead of having real babies, I'm going to have fur babies. And I think we all know that when I talk about fur babies, that only means one animal, the family dog. And people will get dogs because they say, oh, they show you unconditional love. But they leave out the other half of the sentence. They show unconditional love to their family, and they hate everybody else. Now, I've learned this as I go running through my neighborhood. And some of you that know me are questioning how much do you go running? Okay, I've been running at least once through our neighborhood. And I came across two people walking their dog, and each time when I got within 30, 40 feet, that dog was barking and snarling and looked like it wanted to chew my leg off. And as I got closer, each time their parent said, oh, they're just happy to see you. So that's interesting. These people traded humans for this fur baby, and that's how it says it's happy to see me. See, a human, if they're happy to see me, they will say, oh, Matt, I'm so happy to see you. Smile. Yet when their fur child said that, he showed me very sharp teeth and said a lot of angry words. Now, there's another difference between human babies and fur babies. With human babies, we expect them to grow and develop and change so that they're not toddlers the rest of their life, right? We don't want to be changing their diapers forever. Yet, people with fur babies will put their hand in an unconscionably thin plastic bag and pick up their dog's poo every day of its life. Again, that would be unacceptable if humans acted like that. Can you imagine if I'm at work, I'm like, hey, Mom, if you wouldn't mind swinging down, there's a little something in the corner and it's starting to stink. So if you could come clean it up, that'd be great. Now, you same people that are grossed out by that are going to go this afternoon and pick up your dog's poo every day until it dies. Now, as you might guess, I'm not a dog person. We had cats growing up. In fact, we have a cat now. And cats are great. They'll jump on your lap and purr and be so soft and love you. Yeah, for one day a month, and the rest of the time they ignore you. And I'm sure we've all gone to a house where you lean down to pet the cat and the cat's like, and their owner says, oh, they don't like people. Why do we have something that doesn't like people living in a people house? Again, that would be unacceptable if a human acted that way. Right? If you went to a party and who's the guy in the corner? And they're like, oh, it's John, but he doesn't like people. And you go over and talk to him like, hey, John, if he was, he would get committed to a mental hospital. Yet when our cats do that, we're just like, that's just the way they are. Now, some people choose pets that are really more like beasts of burden, like work animals, horse. And that's a weird relationship, right? You're like, hey, let's go on a family hike. And Charlie, if you don't mind, I'm going to ride on your back for the next 4 miles. We wouldn't treat humans that way. If we had a family hike without a horse, and we're like, hey, Uncle Chris, want to give me a piggyback ride for 4 miles? Now, when we're done with the horse, we pet it down, give it some oats. But then as we're going in to watch TV, we're like, oh, hey, if you're not doing anything, if you wouldn't mind plowing the back 40, that'd be great. Now, some people get pets that are the weirdos, the strangers, the outcasts. If the Greatest Showman had a pet, he would choose one of these. So these are your turtles, your snakes, your rabbits and ferrets, all that sort of stuff. Because you can't do anything with those animals, right? I've never seen somebody taking their rabbit or their snake for a walk. It doesn't happen. In fact, you might give your turtle some lettuce. You're like, whoa, Mom, look, he's eating his lettuce. He's not trying to bond with you and become your friend. He's just trying to stay alive. So yes, I know some people turn to pets instead of humans, but I'm not sure our pets are really that much better.